Hey guys, today I want to talk about using the picture tool, which is this guy right over here, in Google Drawing. So far we have talked about the select button, we've talked about the line tool, we've talked about the shape tool. This one over here is the text tool. I'm going to skip talking about that today and we can come back to that tomorrow. And then this guy right over here is the picture tool. So when you click on this, you're going to see that a drop-down menu pops up, and we have a couple different options for where to get our pictures from. So I can upload them from my computer. If I have a picture that's saved on my computer that I want to use, I would click that button. I can search the web. So if I click on this button, I can find different pictures using keywords. If I have pictures on my Google Drive, or if you use Google Photos, you can click on one of those and upload it from there. So it doesn't mean it's on your computer, it means that you put it onto your Drive or in your Google Photos. You can use a URL, which is the www.whateverwebsite.com link that you would copy and paste into there. So that's kind of similar to searching for the web. And then you can also take a picture using the camera that is on your computer if you have a camera on your computer. So there's lots of different ways that we can get a picture into our Google Drawing document. I'm going to show you specifically how to do it from when you search the web, but all of these different tips and tricks can be used for any photo that you put into the document. So it doesn't matter if it's from your computer, if it's from your Google Drive, if it's from the URL, if it's from your camera. Okay, so I'm going to search the web, and it's taking a second. When you click on that button, you're going to see that it's search for images. So this is pretty much just like using Google Image Search. You can see it even says Google Images down there. So I can type in keywords in this box up here, and let's see what kind of picture. Maybe I'll look up a paintbrush. So I'm just typing in that word that I want to look up, and I'm going to hit enter. And then lots of different pictures are going to pop up. The more specific you get, so if I add paintbrush cartoon, I'm not going to really get any photographs. I'm going to get more of cartoon. Paintbrush photograph, I should get more of a real looking paintbrush. So maybe I'll use this one as the example. So you're going to scroll through these, and once you find a picture that you like, you can click on it, and a little blue box over here should pop up. You can select multiple photos. So right now I have 3 selected. If I decide, hey, I don't like this one, I can click on it again. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm just going to work with one picture for now. And then once you're ready to go, it says how many pictures you have selected down here, and then you're just going to hit insert. And then the picture is going to pop up in your drawing. So you can move it around and put it wherever you want. You can see that there are these red lines that are popping up. That's showing where the center of my page is. So right now it's in the perfect center. If I want to make it bigger, I am going to click on one of the corners. That's going to make it both taller and wider at the same time. If I just want to make it taller, I'm just going to click on either the top or the bottom, but you can see that that kind of stretches the picture out. And I don't personally like that, so I'm going to hit edit, and I'm going to undo that. But if you don't mind that, then you can definitely try playing around with that. And if you stretch it out from the left or the right, that's also just going to stretch out the picture. I'm going to undo that. Okay, so I have my picture selected. The first thing that we can do, which is kind of fun, is you can see that there is a crop button that popped up. Actually, let's take a step back. Okay, so my picture is selected. first thing that we can do is if you hit the highlighter pencil button, it will add a border to your picture. So let's say I want to add a pink border, and then same as what we did with the line tool and with the shape tool, you can make it thicker, you can make it have dots, you can make it have dashes, you can do a whole bunch of different things to it. I'm actually going to get rid of the border for now. The next thing that you can do is insert a link. We're not really going to need to do either of these two things, so I'm going to skip that for right now. But the tool after that is the crop image. So it's that L line and then another L line kind of on top of it. When you click on this, you're going to see that, one, there's a gray box that comes around your picture. So cropping in general just means that we are changing what the actual picture looks like. So you can see as I moved that over, once I hit enter on my computer, it's going to delete this extra area. So if we just hit the crop button as it is right now, it will bring up a rectangle or a square that's exactly the size of the picture that you have. However, if you hit that little arrow, you will see that we can change the shape that we're cropping in. So let's say I want to make this a heart. You can see that the area of the picture that's going to remain is a little bit darker, and then there's kind of like a white coloring over the area that's going to get deleted once I hit the enter button. So I can change the size of this. I can move it around. So maybe I want it to look like that. And actually, what if I want it to be bigger? And then I want my heart to be bigger, so I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. And I can, oh, whoops. Okay, so I gotta go back. There we go. Okay, so if I click that, and I am just moving my picture around until I like how it looks in the crop. I'm going to make the heart a little bit bigger. So remember, we can play with the shapes in the same way that we did with the shape tool. So there's lots of different ways to change the dimensions. But I'm liking how that looks, so I'm going to hit enter. And you can see that now, instead of that square picture or the rectangular picture of the brushes, I have some brushes in a heart shape. If I don't like how it looks, I can hit this reset image button, and that's going to bring it back to exactly what it looked like. If I hit replace image over here, I can decide, hey, I don't really like the way that paintbrush looks, so I'm going to look for a new picture of a paintbrush. And I can type it in there. And maybe I'll switch it to this one. So it's going to replace it with that new picture, but it keeps that crop the same. I'm going to undo that because I did like this one. So those are some different options. The last one that we're going to talk about is the format options. And this is where you have a lot of opportunity to kind of play with what your picture is going to look like. So when you click on format options, you will see a bunch of different things that open up. The first one is size and rotation. So this is the size of the picture that you're working with. If you make it bigger or smaller, you can see that it's changing that. So that's kind of, using these buttons is kind of similar to using, want it to be at 100, is using the same as the clicking and dragging these to change the size of your picture. We can also rotate it with some of these buttons. I can undo that flag. Now it's back to normal. Now it's going to be upside down. I can turn it So there's a button up at the top where if you click on that circle and drag it, that will do something really similar. I'm going to leave it at just the 0 angle, which is straight. So that's size and rotation. Those are all tools that you can find kind of directly in here without having to click the format option. Position is where your picture is on the whole page. So you can see, if I hit center, oh wait, no, that wasn't what I meant to do. You can see the numbers are moving around based on where I put it on here. We're not really going to use this tool because it's kind of complicated. But the fun tool, or one of the fun tools, is this recolor button. So when you click on recolor, you can see that there's a drop-down menu that pops up. And then there's all of these different options. So if you decide, hey, I want to make this red or red, so it's a way to change the colors in the picture that you chose. So I can make it turquoise, I can make it, this is kind of like a negative picture. You can do black and white, and you can do brown. So there's a lot of different options for you to play with that really can change the way that your picture looks. I think I'm going to go with one of these blue ones. I like that one. Okay, so we went over size, rotation, position, recolor, which is how to change the color of your picture, adjustments. So this is also kind of fun to play with. You're going to see that there are 3 different options when you click on adjustments. There's transparency, brightness, and contrast. So transparency is how much you can see through your picture. So what I'm going to do right now is slide it. Right now it's at 0%. 0% means that I cannot see through this picture at all. However, if I slide it over to the right, you will see that the colors start to get lighter. What that also means is that if there was something behind it, I would be able to see what is behind it. So let me add in another picture. Let's do that for right now. So I'm going to add in another picture from the web. And let's do another paintbrush. And then I'm going to actually go to, what is it, format, I believe? Nope. Arrange. That's what I want. Order. And then order is the order that the pictures are on the page. So right now, this new picture of a brush is on top of that other picture. But if I send it backwards, then that means that this heart is on top of the new picture of the brushes that I just put there. However, so let's put this back at 0. So now you can't see those brushes at all. However, as I move it over and make it more transparent, you can start to see that you can see what is behind it a little bit more. So the transparency button is pretty cool, and then once it gets to 100%, it's completely invisible. Because you can play around with that a lot. And make some really cool different layering effects. Okay, what if I'm going to leave it at 100 or at 0% right now so that you can really see what brightness and contrast do to the picture. So brightness, if we decrease it all the way, it's going to turn completely black. It makes all of the parts of the picture darker. It's kind of like adding a transparent gray level over and over and over the picture, and then making the brightness more, or increasing the brightness, is going to be kind of like adding white layers. So the more that I increase the brightness, the lighter the picture is going to get, and eventually it's going to be all white. So we can play with this. I kind of like it a little bit darker. to get a different look and feel for the pictures that we choose. Okay. And then contrast, actually I'm going to leave it at 0. So 0 is the middle and it's just like the regular picture. So when we decrease the contrast, that's going to make all the colors look more similar. So it's going to start to look more gray. It's almost like it's getting rid of the colors that are in there. You can see now it's completely gray. And then when you increase the contrast, it makes the colors look more different from each other. So the light colors get even lighter and the darker colors get even darker. And eventually you're just kind of left with like a black and white picture. So you can see like it almost looks, it doesn't even look like a photograph anymore. It looks more like a painting. So that's another way that you can change those colors. So the same as with brightness, 0 is where it was before. If you play around with it, so you can make the brightness less and then increase the contrast, and then you can increase the brightness and just see what playing with those. Ooh, that looks kind of cool. And then what if I make it really transparent? But you can say, hey, you know what, I don't like that, and then you just hit reset, and it will all go back to its original spots. Okay, drop shadow is a shadow that is around your picture. So we can change the color of the shadow. I'm going to keep it black for right now so that it's easier to see. You can make it less transparent, so that means it is black, dark, you will definitely be able to see it, or very transparent, so if it's at 100% it's invisible, you cannot see it at all. I'm going to make it the 0% right now so that it's very visible once we add it. The distance is how far away it is from your picture. So there we go. Now we're starting to see it. So 0 distance is, it's like right underneath it. But if we move it over, you can see it is moving away from the shape. So now you can see that there's a shadow. And if I want it to be further away, then I move it to 100. If I want it to be closer to my picture, then I put it maybe at 10 or at 20. Angle is going to change where the shadow actually is. So right now it's on the right side of my shape. If I decide I want it to be underneath my heart, then I'm going to move that so you can see that it's moving kind of like in a circle around it, and now it's almost directly, I think 90 degrees should be right in the middle. And then we can put it on the left side, we can put it above, it just depends on where you want it, and that kind of brings it back to that side. Then the blur radius is how kind of big the shadow is. So I'm going to actually move it away so that it's easier to see what this button does. So if your shadow is further away from your picture, then you will be able to see your blur radius a little bit more. So so if it's at a 0, then it's a really sharp shadow. It almost looks like there's just 2 hearts there. However, as I move it further along here, you can see that the outline of the shadow gets fuzzier. And then if I increase the transparency, it would make it even more difficult to see. So there's lots of really cool ways that we can add different effects into our picture. So if I increase this up all the way, it's almost hard to see the shadow. Okay, and then I'm going to leave my shadow on so that you can see how that's affected by a reflection. So I just added in a reflection. It's checked right here so that you could see it. And I had to shrink my picture so that you could actually see the reflection, because the picture was so big it was hard to see. So that when I add a reflection, I'm going to get rid of it real fast, you can see it adds a reverse image, almost as if it was looking into a mirror underneath it. And then similar to how when we click on drop shadow, there's all those different options that we can play around with. We can affect our transparency, distance, and size of our reflection. So transparency we've already gone over a lot. The left-hand side this is the least transparent. So our reflection is always going to be a little bit transparent. You will always be able to see through it a little bit. But the further that we move it over here, you can see it's getting lighter and lighter, and it's disappearing into the background. Right? The distance is how close or how far away. So you can see my reflection is moving further away from my heart. So if I want it close by, there we go. 0 is like on top of each other. And then the size is, let's see, so there's a very small, or there's no reflection there, so that's the smallest one that you could have. And then as you can see, it kind of adds a little bit more as you go on. So now eventually you will have almost your entire shape. There we go. So that's the most that I can have. And then it almost reflects the entire shape. And it changes it so that it's pretty much double the size. So if you wanted to see it in its entirety, I'd have to shrink this down even further. And then I can move it around. Yeah, so those are all of the different things that we can play with. I like having a little bit more of a blur radius. So you can see whatever I do to one side, it will do to the reflection, because it's just like looking in a mirror. So I want you guys to play with the different ways that we can use the picture, the image button. You can get a picture from any of these places. So if you have one on your computer that you want to use, if you want to find one on the internet, if you have one on your Google Drive, if you want to take one with the computer or with the camera on your computer, you can definitely do that. Yeah, I just want you to play around with the tools that we learned about today and see what you can create. If you feel so inclined, you can try to combine it with the line tool and the shape tool. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about the text tool, and that's pretty much all of the tools that are available to us in Google Drawing. So I'm super excited to see what you make, and have fun creating, everyone. Bye!